All right, hi everybody. Danny here, and Happy New Year. I hope that 2016 is one of the best you've had in a long, long time. So when I do my work and I talk about the Jackrabbit principles, there's one at the core that's called develop vision. And a lot of times people will say, okay, Danny, I got that, but how do you do it? So allow me, if you will, on this video, I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes and show you a process that I use and that a lot of people use that is pretty valuable for them. Your vision is the ability for you to imagine something that's not real yet. And the way that I do it is I'll write a letter to myself dated a year from now. So you're writing the letter into the future. There's a lot of quotes out there that say the best way to predict the future, the best way to create the future is to predict it. So let me share with you how we do that. And when you do this exercise, the first time I did it was at the Hudson Institute out in Santa Barbara around 2006 when I was getting my coaching certification. You want to write it in past tense, and I'll talk to you about why that's important, in every area of your life that needs to be different, with some pretty good detail in there. So let me jump over to mine. I'm going to share a couple of paragraphs with you to kind of get a feel for it. I'll talk to you about why it's in that form, and then we'll wrap up. So let me flip over here. So if you were to look at mine, and I do it in Outlook, and I put it as an all-day event in my calendar that recurs every Friday, so that I can stay focused on it. You know, it's less than about 5 to 8% of the population actually have a formal goal setting process. And what I found from that, though, is even if people do it, they rarely look at it. So what I want to do is get it into your calendar on Friday, all day event, so that you continue to take a look at it, focus, and we'll talk about the power of it. So let me jump in. Here's a little bit of mine. December 31st, 2016, dear Danny. Um, First, my relationship with God and Spirit is strong. I had a wonderful retreat in December of 2015 at the Immaculate Heart Center for Spiritual Renewal in Montecito for my third year in a row. I have a renewed commitment to my faith, and I just finished my fourth retreat in Montecito earlier this month. I got back to journaling 2 to 3 times per week. It was great just to get the thoughts down on paper. I gave a talk at Hopewell Church in January that was just great for the congregation and for me. I also delivered 2 missions with Jimmy, the first one in Cherry Hill in March, and the second one during the summer in Cape May, New Jersey. So a little part around my faith right now. Then there's a few around my relationships and my children. I'll scroll down. Now here's business, right? Career. Financially, it was a real good year. Jackrabbit revenue grew to $400,000. The revenue came from both workshops and speeches, and also from book revenue. With Sue's guidance, I published Abraham's Diner, Simple Wisdom for More Control, Focus, and Inspiration at the beginning of the year. And Back from Heaven's Front Porch continues to sell and be well received. It was also great to have a very few talented friends selling and delivering some Managing Yourself and Your Stuff workshops for me. I was finally able to get the Jackrabbit credit cards down to zero balance a few months ago and kept a focus on keeping them there. I'm thankful for my client relationships, especially Marriott, Reebok, Wawa, Christiana, Adidas, Tremco, Estellas, and Discover. I traveled to many cool places this year and met a bunch of great people, but the highlights were my trip to Napa to work with John's new organization and my trip to Bali, Indonesia in April to work with a group of senior execs there from Marriott and Ritz-Carlton. I delivered a keynote and a few half-day workshops, and it was very well received. I added a few days on to enjoy the wonderful beaches and some unforgettable surf sessions. So there's just 2 paragraphs, and don't focus so much what's on there, but how it's in there. So if you were going to write about an area of your life as if it already happened, how would you write it? So if you think back to my faith paragraph up there, it says that I finished my 4th retreat a few months ago. Well, my 4th retreat, it's now January of 16. My 4th retreat will come in December of 16. Or I said earlier this month. Pay off my credit cards a few months ago. That will come in September or October. So remember, you're writing it from past tense. And it's got to be realistic too. I mean, everything that's in here is realistic. These trips to Napa and Indonesia have been discussed, and they're kind of in the works. So it's not like I'm just sitting there and dreaming about it. But what it will do is it will generate some focus for you. And then from the focus, you can make sure that you're taking the action. Because a lot of people do an exercise like this, but they fail to take the action, which is so important for them. There's some other things in here that I still need to kind of finish, but it talks about some online courses. I'm going to take an online course. I actually started it with James Patterson, a writing course that I'm engaged in. And I'll also read 24 books this year. Untethered Soul I'm starting, The Alchemist again, a friend of mine, his father wrote Fatal Waters. That seems to be a pretty cool read. So here's another paragraph, right? The draft of Back from Heaven's Front Porch screenplay was finished in March. I talked with Tim, Matt, and a few others about how to get the necessary support to continue the project. Joey talked to me, my son, in January and said he'd like to help me. It's off the record. Joey is a journalism major in college. So I said that would be great. So he and I got engaged and we worked on it. And we finished the draft in March. We shopped it a bit, but have decided to make the film ourselves with the support of a great director and some business people, producers, who have the experience needed and believe in the message of Back from Heaven's Front Porch. Shooting began a few months ago. So again, if I'm reading it to you from December, I want to get some shooting started out in November or so. We have two very well-known actors signed on for the project. Now, when I wrote that book, Back from Heaven's Front Porch, 4 or 5 years ago, my vision was always to have Jennifer Aniston play Samantha Jane Windermere. She was on Wall Street. She made a lot of money. She kind of lost her soul there. She got it back. She moved to Moab, got a bar named Sammy's, and I've always seen Jennifer Aniston playing Sammy. Now, I don't know Jennifer Aniston, but you see, this is my vision, so it really doesn't matter, right? If any of you know Jennifer Aniston, be sure to let her know to look in all those corners where all her books are that people send to her, because she probably has 4 or 5 copies of mine. Of course, I've got some casting directors now, my children, my nieces, my nephews, that are going in a different direction with the casting, shall I say, so stay tuned for that. A couple more paragraphs here. Mom and Dad, so family. Mom and Dad are doing well, and I've continued to increase my touch points with them. We had quite a few fun times at the beach. I continue to keep my support network of Trish, Michael, Joe, and Pat very strong. We talk on a regular basis and see one another a few times a month, more in the summer. I also text or talk with my brothers, my niece, and my nephews weekly. So good to be connected with them and hear what's going on for them in their lives, and I offer my support where appropriate. I'm really thankful for all the great people I've met this past year, and a lot of the old friends that have come back into my life through my writing and my books, and social media and all those other things. And I have a paragraph about some trips I'm going to take. I'll be out to Santa Anita in the fall for the Breeders' Cup with some college friends. We're going to do a little golf trip in San Diego. Health-wise, it was a great year. While some aches and pains continued to let me know that I'm not 25 anymore, I continued to balance my workouts between weights and running. I incorporated some of my CrossFit experience into my workouts and loved the variety that it provided, and the fact that you get a great workout in 30 minutes. I also visited with Sally for Reiki every other month. My running friends and I continued to support one another and challenge one another and get together for our runs. We did about 10 altogether, the big ones being the Broad Street in Philadelphia, the Tim Kerr 7-miler in Avalon, and the Philadelphia Half Marathon in the fall. So just a couple of the paragraphs of the vision that I wrote for myself. So I appreciate you allowing me to share that with you. And here's what I want you to think. Your vision should do a couple things. It should inspire you, which is an energy that we can create for ourselves. Because sometimes I know it's hard to drag our ass out of bed, especially on a Monday. And sometimes the world is going to throw some unexpected crap. So just remember that this vision of yours is yours. It's okay to change it. You're not going to change it every week, but it's okay to edit it and predict from the end what you want to have happen. The key to writing it is in past tense is this. Here's what I believe. Our brain loves completion. You all love marking things off, so do I. Some of you love it so much that you'll do something that was not on your list. You go to your list and write it just so you can put a line through it or a check mark with that wonderful color marker that you use, and you all get it. If we can write a vision that is in past tense, so it's real, but it's really not, I believe that creates a gap for you that gets you much more focused on looking for the actions to make that real, because that's what your brain wants to do. It can't help it. So I hope that me going into some more detail about how to develop vision was really valuable for you. And my hope for you would be that you give it some time, you put some energy and effort into it. I think you'll be pleased with the results. So until next time, be well.